Hi, David.
Hello, how are
Thank you.
you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for coming early to join me.
My pleasure. My
You,
pleasure. Honestly, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this ever since you asked to do it. It's
I
really exciting.
I have too. I've been watching your work sort of unfold the last couple of years in all aspects of the theatrical elements from acting, film directing, now theater writing.
Yep, all of the
You
above.
wrote a
Yes,
book.
yes, yes. Wrote a play, a grocery store romance, and at the Hollywood Fringe Festival last year, and I published that as well. It's a thrill, like to have something, making movies sometimes in today's world lives a little bit online and the media is just this intangible thing. But when you write something or you create or you're a painter, as you are, you have this tangible thing that you can hold and it feels
Hmm.
much more real. I think was raised in an analog world, so I feel like that tangible things are much more appealing and much more rewarding.
Hmm. But all those things seem to most of the time require other people,
Yes, absolutely. It's a collaborative effort for
right?
sure.
It seems like with all of these things that you do, you've also developed like a village of people that work with you as well, and probably in different areas.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in community. And as an actor, I was always part of a acting class. And I think that was instilled in me from the beginning is that no matter where I was, no matter what city I was living in, I could always try to find an acting class to be part of.
Hmm.
And almost every collaboration I've ever done has come out of those acting classes.
Hmm.
So even now, I just said that, but I'm currently not in an acting class. But most of my collaborations come from the class I was previously part of. And all those relationships are still strong and we're still creating and working together. I read a book, Margot Lightman, who teaches at UCB, Upright Citizens Brigade, and she wrote a book about storytelling, like the Moth Story Hour. And several years ago, you could throw a rock and hit a storytelling hour. They were just all over the city. And I remember going, but I never participated. And
Oh.
recently, I started doing backyard storytelling, where we just gather with friends, we get together, and we tell true stories to each other. And it's the only rule is that it has to be true, has to be your story to tell. You can't tell the story about like your parents meeting, but you can tell the story about how you met your parents, maybe, or
There was a
um,
giant boob in my face.
and then it has to be like 6 to 7 minutes, whatever the time limit is, depending on how many people
So
show.
what is that? Just that connects you guys. It allows you to
Yeah,
express yourself, but I guess it also practices how
yeah.
you tell a story and also read the room at the same time, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think, for me, being an actor most of my life, you're kind of hiding behind the character.
Mm,
Maybe hiding behind is the wrong word to use, but you're being truthful, but within the given circumstances of the world that you're creating. Um, but with storytelling, it's a little like stand-up comedy, I think, in that you are just being yourself and you're trying your best to, or at least I am trying my best to be myself and to have confidence in just telling a story from my point of view, have it still be engaging, but have it be a little bit more personal and relate to your audience because you're looking right at them. You're like a
yeah.
stand-up comic. You're engaging directly with the audience.
Yeah, you're sort of working with that feedback
Yeah,
back
it's
and forth.
immediate, right? It's immediate feedback.
Right.
Yeah.
Because even if it's like when we think of comedy, the heckling and all that, but when you're
Yeah.
telling a story, it's really, is there eye contact? Is somebody crying? Is somebody smiling? I remember that from theater, like
Yeah.
some of my favorite performances of not really breaking the wall, but like maybe seeing somebody in the audience that's feeling connected. And
Yeah.
it's just like, wow, I'm here.
Yeah. I think that that's the beauty of theater is even I mean, I was talking about being able to see that person and have a direct connection, but in theater, I've recently, as I mentioned before, returned to the world of theater from having done so much film in the past few years.
Mm,
There is an electricity, and I think it is currently in our culture, it's tied in. People are returning to theater, I think, because we are tired of seeing so many screens in our lives. We're engaged constantly in screens and watching screens. So people are returning to live
mm.
events,
Does that make sense? That's how
seeing
I feel. Mhm.
concerts, I went to the LA art show at the LA Convention Center yesterday. It was packed with people who were, I think, eager not only to see the art, but to engage with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's why theater is having a bit of a
Mm.
resurgence right now.
And if you go back to what we know about theater from the earliest times, I mean, storytelling was basically the way they shared history and
Yeah.
knowledge. I often think of the Greek theaters, the Greek playwrights, and how everybody would go there to get their information and to feel things and to be together. I'm really glad to hear that it's having a resurgence, even if it's in just little pockets.
Yeah. Yeah. Me
Yeah.
too. And maybe it's also because I found it again. Just last year, I did a feature film and I finished it at the beginning of 2025 and had my first screening. We did another screening just a month ago or so. So it wasn't that long ago. My focus was fully on doing film and I edited the film as well. So there's a lot of time that I spent just staring into a screen
Mm-hmm.
and doing the editing. And I think for me, then we did a play right after that, and I felt like,
Mm.
a brand new world was opening
Mm.
up in front of me. And I started in theater, so it
Mhm.
wasn't like this is something new to me, but it did feel like a resurgence. It felt, to keep going back to that word, but it was a realization that this is where I wanted to be spending my time.
Tell me about the play that you did.
Sure. The play is called Grocery Store Romance. So I went to graduate school in 2003 and it was at UC Davis. And while there, I collaborated with two other actors, Diane McBride and Amar Ramsey Mahmood, and the three of us collaborated together to write this play. And the process, which I really fell in love with this process. We'd come into a room together, and I would bring some pages, and I'd say, "Okay, this is kind of what we're working with, and I don't know where to go, and can we just play around with the words and then see what comes of that?" So they would say the words. The three of us were acting together, so we're kind of like bouncing off of each other. And then I would go home that night and I would rewrite the things that we came up with, and we return the next day and we just continue that. And somewhere in that rehearsal, I discovered this really fun way of having a scene take place. So the opening scene of the play is two characters who are shopping in a grocery store and they bump into each other, and it's love at first sight. And they are sort of like shopping, all the things in the grocery store, the boxes and everything are labeled everything that you might find in a relationship, from therapy
Oh,
to sex to children to family to sense of humor, all of the things
dirty
that you might find.
dishes.
Exactly. Everything, doing the dishes, from mowing the lawn, taking out the trash, all that stuff. And from there, because it was the Department of Theater and Dance, I was also introduced to a lot of movement and a lot of dance. So the
Mhm.
whole beginning process of the play was all movement. And we just tried to tell that beginning part of the story with no words, just what we could tell in movement alone. So then we moved from there, it moved into the bedroom. We immediately after they meet, we see that they're love struck. We go into the bedroom, the lights go down, sex is happening. And when the lights come up, her first thing is, oh my God, what's wrong? What's wrong? And a doctor enters the scene. And this is what I stumbled upon. I had two scenes happening at the same time, which was she was having a conversation with the doctor and a conversation with the man that she just presumably fell in love with, or was it lust? That becomes the question. But the doctor says, "You're pregnant." And she's like, "What?" And trying to have a conversation with the doctor and her lover
Yeah.
at the exact same time. And this, as the scene happens, I realized, oh, this play can be told very quickly. The story can be told very quickly because I can have these characters in two scenes at the same time. And that sort of drove the rest of the play. So that was 20 years ago when I wrote that play. And then I dug it up for this past year's
Same
French
play?
class. Same play. I reworked it when we got into the rehearsal room. It was a little dated. There were some things that didn't quite work the same. So those were great changes to make, and it evolved. Same story, but just different, with different actors and different, interpretations. It was so subtle. But it is interesting. Like, you think you're forward thinking, and then time tells you that
Yeah.
Actually, we're going a different way. I don't think that the things that we're talking about today, we would have been able to really make the center of our conversation 20 years ago.
Mhm.
I mean, that could take us down an entirely different road if we start thinking about culturally what are the things that are happening in the world today.
But underneath all of the things that are happening in the world, they're the same stories, aren't they? The connections,
Yeah,
disconnections.
yeah. And I think that's what we come back to. We have to come back to that because
Mm-hmm.
of all the crazy things in the world today. You want to distill them down to this human connection. Forgive me for going a little off topic here, but you did paint a picture of
Oh, yeah.
Rene Nicole Good. Cut that
Thank
out.
you for noticing it.
I did. I noticed that you. I think the reason I guess my mind went to this is that we're talking about connection. We're talking about also, we have things that do happen in the world, and whether they're personal or they're coming from outside. And what happened with her is absolutely tragic, and I was thinking, like, how as artists do we respond to that? And when I saw that you had sketched that, I just thought, what a beautiful initial way to, like, I feel like you just had a reaction. I feel like I want to turn around and talk to you about this because I think, like, is that your natural reaction when something like that happens, is just to turn it to
Yeah.
your art?
I tend to do them with people that either I care a lot about or the collective that I'm part of cares a lot about. Like, I think I started doing that when David Bowie died.
Hmm.
And I had my kids come sit around a table and we painted pictures of David Bowie. And then somebody else died that year shortly after. Well, I know Prince died.
Hmm.
That was the same year that my husband died too. So there was a lot of that, those people dying that having drawn their picture, it makes me feel connected to that time.
Right,
I can remember making those drawings. I have
right.
them. And then I don't know, I guess it's my way of remembering that they're human. I did it when George Floyd died.
Yeah.
Was a big one. I don't really have the time to paint a big painting of somebody right now. So I just made a sketch, but I did feel better afterwards. I'll show it to you real quick.
When you do a sketch like that, it is somewhere in your mind thinking, well, it'll move into a painting at some point, or
I
you just
usually
allow it.
think that, but I really love this sketch. And
It
I'm
is
afraid
beautiful.
if I put paint on it, it will change. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Maybe
I
that's
think
part of the
that
grief process. I'm not sure.
I think that particular image of her too is the one uh,
People
what
recognize.
people will recognize, and we're
Yeah.
going to remember her
Yeah. I did it
forever.
with Brianna Taylor, and that one actually got some attention, which made me feel really good
Yeah,
about being something that I felt like I was putting something positive back into the noise.
yeah, yeah,
And that's what I think is hard with these things because I get so angry,
yeah.
which I think is correct also.
Right.
But when I stop and I paint the picture and I can see their eyes and I feel it's like, well, it's not too different than photography. If you take a picture of somebody and you've spent time editing it or looking at it and sharing it,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
remember it. It's part
Yeah,
of you. Because we're all part of each other.
yeah. I agree. I think one of the things I think about when I want to turn, whether it's personal or whether it's this event is a great one, or our reactions to ICE right now is a very
Mhm.
important moment. And there are a lot of people who turn to sarcasm, a lot of people who turn to this sort of angry
Mhm.
response. And I don't particularly love that. I watch it, I see Jimmy Kimmel at night, and he tells his monologue, and I get it. He's telling jokes, and I'm rooting there with him, but it's also entertainment. But I don't love tearing down of other people. I don't care what side of the line you're on. I don't love that. So I would
Right. It's
love,
a lower vibration, isn't it?
yes, it is a much lower vibration.
Mhm.
And I think that, because there is anger, there's a lot of anger, and I want to figure out how to turn that into, find the alchemy of that, find the alchemy of turning that into something that can be positive and trying to identify what is it I'm trying to
Mhm.
say, and without the expectation to change people's minds,
Mhm.
because I think that can lead down this road of, like, you have to believe what I believe.
Right. And it just causes a lot of times more anger because they're not hearing you and you're not hearing them.
Right. Yeah.
I did find the picture. Can you see that?
Yeah, that's it. That's beautiful.
And there's almost something in this particular drawing that looks like she's already gone, like she's looking down
Mhm.
with some kind of peace, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's not really about any longer the person that was killed. It's the person that she was. It's the person that she is. And how can we connect with that? Because that's the human part. If we
right.
lose that, I mean, we are losing it. Anytime a group of people is othered or called a monster,
Yeah,
it just creates more of that divide, I think. And going back to what you're saying with the theater, which is taking time, the rehearsal process, reshaping of the script. You have to go back into the process, and that kind of gets you away from some of your emotional reaction. And then the spirit takes over. The spirit
yeah,
that's with you, but it doesn't always have access. It has to have a place to go. In my case, I'm like, okay, if I bring my sketchbook out, I knew I wanted to do it just because that seems like that's what I do. It's a
right.
way to mark current events and continue my artistic process, I guess, and also release it so that I can have some distance and hopefully share it and encourage people. But with the theater, it's even a longer process because,
Yeah,
there's all these pieces. I think you said distilling, was that the word you used? It brings all of that into a place that's calmer. And then from there, it can be something that people react to in their own way rather
yeah,
than being pushed on them. Because
right.
everybody's very defensive. Like, this is how I
Yes,
feel. Don't make me feel a different way.
right.
But if you offer something from yourself that isn't aggressive like that, it's a nice way to come back to the humanity. You're not avoiding it.
No, somebody I noticed on Facebook yesterday posting the video of the shooting, which is awful, but people probably should watch it. He just put, "What do you see?" And so, in a way, he's just offering, without his
Yes.
opinion, trying to turn people away. I know him, and I know he's a very gentle man, and he's somebody who wants people to have critical thinking in their life.
Mhm.
So even in all of the comments and his responses, none of them are agitative. None of them, even though he has agitated people trying to start that. And
Sure.
he's a reminder that, let's help people think for themselves.
Mhm.
Let's not force, because nobody goes on Facebook and reads something and goes, oh, you know what? I've changed my mind. But if
Mhm.
we can get people to think for themselves without judgment, no matter
Mhm.
where they end up, as long as there is critical thinking involved, to do
Back
it.
to the storytelling,
Yeah,
allowing people to experience your story or how you've
right.
set the stage. Did you see the movie Hamnet?
I have not seen it
Oh,
yet. No, I've
I
heard
should have
it's so
given
good.
that to you as homework. I won't go into it too much since you haven't seen it, but it's an incredible film. I've really been
I've
amazed
heard.
by it. But it's a fictional story of
Mhm.
Shakespeare and how he would have maybe come to write Hamlet. It has to do a lot with grief and
Mm,
how he and his wife managed different grief,
I
similar
see.
grief in their life. And it brings back to that story of how the audience engages with the actor. And in that time, the people in the pit, the groundlings on the ground, they
Mhm.
were right there with him. And they would get all rowdy and they would take it in and on and everything. And it was a place where you could see that wall was broken all the time
Oh, yeah.
between the actors and the
The
playwright,
audience,
the director trying to get the actors to do the thing, and then the people, and just the catharsis. Everybody feeling their own grief,
right?
watching Hamlet. And I think that's kind of like that's the heart of the catharsis. We're all in our own experience of this, and
Yeah.
yet this gives us a place to experience that together.
And I think it was much more accepting where at some point they turned the lights off on the audience and the audience sat in the dark and watched the players and they were separate. But in those times, it was all part of the same,
Mhm.
the audience was equally lit as the
Mhm.
performer. So I think you felt much more
Right.
connected to that,
I mean, if
much
somebody
more
threw a
part of it.
tomato on the stage and it hit the actor, they can't ignore
That's
that
right.
they've just been hit by a tomato. They've
That's
got to
right.
work it into the story somehow or leave.
Right.
But that's what's so exciting because it's much more like life, isn't it? The live
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Anything
Yeah.
can happen.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
No, no, please go ahead.
I was going to start bringing up the card thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I want to know more about that. So
Okay.
please bring it up.
Because we can talk more about theater in a second. So The reason I chose this card for you, I'm going to pull the picture up so you can see it and tell me what you see. This should work. Did that work?
Yep. That's
Okay.
it.
So I chose the card Jupiter for you, partly because I know you're a Sagittarius, and that is the connected to Jupiter. And yeah, I'll leave it at that for now. But tell me what you see here, just so the audience can understand what this
Describe
is.
the card.
Hmm.
Well, we have a blue, beautiful like mix of blue, some royal blue and some lighter blue. I would say as a predominant color in the background, and then you have the word Jupiter across the top in a sort of banner, the kind of banner you might see that flies behind an airplane in the sky, but it's a curvy banner, it's beautiful. Oh, at the very bottom we have another banner that has the word Stanum. Am I saying that correctly?
Yep. Hmm.
Stanum across the bottom. In the very center, we have a circle, and in the center of the circle is a bird. It's a very magnificent bird, which has a very personal connection to me, which maybe is a story I'll tell, but it's boy, I didn't think about it until just now. Wow. So
You're gonna
there's
have to tell the story now.
I will, but there's a bird in the center, and then there's some I would say lightning that's
Yeah.
going through the back. We have lightning, strikes of lightning that cross behind the center circle bird. And then above the bird, I want to say we've got some symbols going on here. We have a triangle,
Hmm.
maybe
Yeah.
a top.
Very, very good
It
eye.
also could be an ornament, but it's a triangle, I'd say. And then at the very bottom, we have a wheel. It looks a little wheel of I'm gonna compare it to like a wooden wheel that you might find on a
Like a wagon wheel.
wagon wheel, but I don't think it's a wheel. I think it's another symbol.
I think you're
But
right.
then we
Count.
have then we have the number four on the left. Or is that a two? I don't know.
It's actually a symbol for Jupiter,
I was gonna say it's a symbol because it
but it
has the
does look like a
curly.
2 and a 4.
It does look like, yeah. Well, but and then on the right side we have an S and an N,
Yes.
which
And that is a periodic element label for stannum, which is
nice.
at the bottom. So
All these stars that are sort of thrown all over it.
yeah, a lot of stars. Speaking of stars, and I texted you on this last night, but I was like, go outside and look. Apparently, Jupiter is closest to the Earth right now, and this
Saw
happens, I
that.
guess, yearly. But right now, and you can go out there. I don't know if it's yearly or not, but you can go out and see it early in the evening because it's still dark, and well, like I would say 6 o'clock is dark here, right? So, and it's not even dark, dark. It's just dark enough to see it, and it was so bright and just
Yeah, it's
hangs there.
beautiful. I'm so glad you texted me because the other night I saw it in the sky and I didn't know what it was. I just saw this beautiful bright
Yeah,
object in the sky, and I remember thinking I got to find out what that is because
perfect.
it's gorgeous. And apparently it is today. Today's the day
Yeah, today's
where
the
it
day.
is directly between we have Jupiter, Earth, and the Sun. It is in a direct alignment
So
on
cool.
January
So
10th.
cool that we planned to do this
I
before we knew
know.
that.
I-
It's a nice little synchronicity, isn't it?
It's great.
All right, I'm going to read to you what I wrote, and we'll go back to that. Okay.
Okay.
Jupiter has no leisure to attend to little things. This is a quote by the great poet Ovid. Stannum is the Latin word for tin, the silvery white metal that the alchemists associated with the planet or god Jupiter. It feels somewhat dissatisfying to compare tin with Jupiter, or Zeus, the sky god, and Big Kahuna. But to the scholars of old, both Jupiter and tin embodied qualities of philosophy, education, logic, and wisdom. This was the planet and metal of sages and scholars, as they believed this energy gave them access to the higher planes of the mind. Theater productions through the ages would shake a sheet of tin backstage to create the resonating sound of thunder. Tin is also resistant to corrosion and therefore good for preserving things. Tin cans keep food edible for years. Light to carry, whatever its form, this is the metal of adventurers, explorers, and seekers. So, very Sagittarian, right? The eagle is the eagle, which I guess I was trying to paint. The eagle is also associated with Jupiter. And Since Greco-Roman times, it's been seen as the king of the birds with its unique farsightedness and majestic flight, so high above the rest of the living. If we were to put Jupiter energy into a nutshell, it might be expansion and amplification. Like Midas, whatever he touches turns into more. This may seem lucky, and often it is, but when uncomfortable energies are expanded, we can feel out of control. Moreness can be the best thing or the worst thing, depending on what it's bringing more of. In the language of the tarot, the Wheel of Fortune is connected to Jupiter. This asks us to keep moving into whatever fate might bring our way or stay stuck in the mud. Life is about expansion. Knowing what parts to amplify is a big part of our growth. We bump into things and make huge messes. And sometimes our shame tells us that's all we do. But that's not true. We have choices about what we want to expand. This is also about inclusion, like a big rolling ball. Who and what do you want to run into? What do you want to expand? What do you want to include? That sound of thunder, what direction can you project it? Be the big God of your story for a minute. If all you could bring was more, can you focus on the thing that you want to expand? What's the difference between your big truth and your little truth? This is kind of a long one. I hope you don't mind.
There's so much. It's so
Okay.
good. Keep going. Please go. Keep going.
Okay. What is the difference between your big truth and your little truth? Where can you accept the dramatic and commit to the journey? In other words, go big or go home. This is the call of the higher mind. Think about what you want to explore. Buy the ticket. Make it a party. You've got the expansive touch, but be mindful which direction you point it. And hopefully, it's towards more satisfaction and purpose in your life. If it's something else, name it and lean into it. You've got the power. Open your mind, expand your horizon, make some noise, rock and roll.
That's so good. That's so good. Oh, there's so many layers to this. I mean, we could take that like sentence by sentence and have a discussion about each thing that was said in that.
Well, you're welcome to take it and create a play from it.
I will. I feel like
I can be just like the one that hands that to you.
I do feel like there really are some wonderful moments. I feel like you're describing parts of my life, of course, like with well,
the theater part definitely
the theater
is there.
parts for sure, but I think this journey, like choosing the journey that you're on, there's something very nice when you read something that says you have the power within you to do the thing that you want to do. That is very reaffirming. I think most of us are on a path of self-actualization. We want to be the best that we can be in our chosen fields, or if we split off from our chosen fields, we try something else. We're all trying to get to this place of being better human beings. And I feel like what you just read is an affirmation or an allowance, a permission slip to go do something like that.
Go big, go for it.
I could wake up and read that as a mantra every morning. Just be like, okay, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. But that's that energy too of like you're picking up what I said and you're amplifying it. You're kind of like, oh, I can see this, even I could do it every day. It's like that even. There's such a joy in that. And not that you're going to do it every day, but that you're speaking back to it. It's opening,
Yeah.
It creates passion and it creates vision, right? Because everything comes from a feeling, really, isn't it? It's like you can think about all the things you want, but unless you have a real passion for it, it's probably not going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
So how do you amplify the thing you want? And even as we're talking earlier about this, dark week in America with this murder in Minneapolis, you can feel the expansion of one thing or the other. It's kind of like you were saying before, how do we not get caught up into the fray of everybody else's emotion, instead of bringing something meaningful into it, because everything is amplified right now.
Yes. I do think it's also partly, as you said, that I realize it's the sources that we go to give us the energy to then turn around and create something. So
that's true too.
Listening to you read that reminds me that's what I need to turn on and listen to instead of turning on the news, especially first thing in the morning. listen to a meditation or listen to something that you know is going to feed your
Mhm.
positive energy, for lack of a better term, but I think it's more than just positive energy.
Mhm.
It's connecting to the universe in a way that you know is going to bring out, going back to self-actualization, it's going to bring out the best part of you so that then you can enter the world and start your day, even if it's like we're talking about a day-to-day basis of
Mhm.
just bringing something good into your life so that you can put it out in the
Right. Do
world.
I want to bring more light into the world?
That's right. And we have a choice of like how what we're eating is what we're going to put back out. So what we're feeding, and I recognize the more I go down the rabbit hole of tuning into the wrong or the negative, even if it's not negative, even if you're turning into the thing that feeds I guess negative is the best word, but it feeds a negative side of you.
Mhm.
And I say that when I just think of, I'm reminded of a movie, My Dinner with Andre, and he tells, one of the characters tells the story where he says, I met a man. He was 84 years old, and he's lobbying for the redwood forests, and he's saying he doesn't read magazines. This is done in Andre was like 70s, 60s or 70s. This movie was done, but he's he turns off news. He stopped reading the news. He stopped reading magazines. He stopped watching TV. He stopped listening to the radio news. And it reminds me that all important news will come to us from the people we interact with. We don't have to get our news from watching it or listening to it.
Mhm.
All the stuff that's meaningful will come to you in other sources. And I believe that that's true because when we go to social media or we go to anywhere online, any media outlets, it, for lack of a better term, it's negative. It fucks with us, I want to say. I don't know if
Mhm.
we can
Well,
curse
it's
on
trying
this
to
thing.
influence us, right?
Yeah, it certainly influences us, but I think the medium itself tarnishes the way that we get
Mhm.
stuff. So I think that everything in moderation. I think that is that we just have to be moderate with how we get the
Mhm.
information that we're getting.
I go to therapy frequently, and my therapist, she says she doesn't watch the news. And I know
Really?
that she agrees with me on a lot of these things that I feel are important.
Right.
Um, current events and things like that. But she doesn't watch the news. She said, I don't need to. I hear it all in here. And I have to keep myself like, I listen to people all day and try to hold
Right.
space for them
Right.
in time. So I know these things are going on, but I don't need to go seek it out because I'm hearing it here. But I also, if I spend my time at home listening to all that and then listening to it here, I'm only going to be in that
Right.
all the time. And
Right.
I'm not going to be able to take care of myself so that I can help take care of other
Right.
people.
Right. Right.
So that's, even as artists, I think it's well, depending on what you're doing. It feels a little irresponsible if you're going to be putting work in the world to not know what's going on.
Sure. I know.
But, look at Emily Dickinson. She never left her bedroom and we're still reading
Um,
her poems. So, there's a
yeah,
place for that too.
there is. There is. Going back to everything in moderation is probably one of the best return to reminders for me.
Yeah.
Like I don't get consumed with one thing and then I realize, so just in small amounts, it's all around. You don't have to get totally consumed in this thing.
But what would you
Um,
say if I were going to say if you're going to amplify something, if you're going to have Jupiter energy in your life right now as a playwright and I'm assuming you're going to be doing more theater, right? More stuff
hopefully,
like
knock on
this,
wood.
right?
Yep.
So in this period, and if you were to say read that every day, think about Jupiter, think about this bigness, what would you want to amplify?
It's a great question.
I mean, you've already
I,
said it in
I,
like 10 different ways, pretty much. I'm being a little unfair putting you on the spot.
no, not at all. I think it is a great question. I love a question like this. My first go-to is I'm writing a collection of short stories right now that go back to when like one of my first memories and then up until now, but it's a little, I don't know. David Sedaris is a great example of
Oh,
like, somebody
love
who I
him.
love and who I want to sort of what I was thinking about as I was writing these stories. And they're very personal and they're very it's also it's just me writing.
Mhm.
So we're going back to this thing about collaboration with other people too. As a writer, it's just you and the canvas of the manuscript you're working on. And then from there, after that, I want to put that on stage somehow in performance. So I think in answer to your question, what I want to be putting out into the world are I just thought performance. I don't know if that's the answer to your question, but because as an actor, I don't feel like I've been acting a lot recently.
Mhm.
I've been directing, I've been writing, I've been doing these short backyard storytelling, but it's not really a big performance. It's not me on stage anymore. So I think for myself, I'm looking to connect with that part of me that really liked being on stage. And being on stage is a lot different than doing a movie because you're
The
not
whole
having a
body
connection with other
experience too in
people.
the moment.
Right. So when you ask that question, I think, it's not just about performance. It is about connecting with other people. It's about being in a space where you can have, even if that space were a collaborative workshop environment where we're all sort of teaching each other,
Mhm.
whether it's performance or art, like an artist salon. I've always sort of imagined being part of, to where we can all work with each other, collaborate with each other, have ideas. That I love the fact that you're doing this podcast, and that this is something that you told me that you had the idea for, and then you finally jumped in, and I think it was a little over a year ago, right?
Yeah, well, I like to talk. You know that. So but I'm not very good about talking by myself.
Yeah, and it's connection.
It's
I think that's
connection.
why I stumbled on your question, because I think we're trying to talk through it, trying to figure out the answer to it, is about connection. I
Hmm.
think what I'm trying to do is figure out ways to have more connections with
Yeah.
people.
Which isn't that like another word for unity,
Yeah.
uniting and
Yes. Yeah.
connecting? And it's a form of revolution right now, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, let's get our stories together and connect. But what I'm also
Yeah.
hearing, not to put words in your mouth, as you're saying, what you want to bring is performance in this new way or renewed way, coming
Hmm.
back as another part of your life onto the stage. I just sort of see it as the full body experience of David. Like, I got my mind, I got the things there, but I'm going to show up. And that amplifies everything that you're about, the way you move, the way you're a human. You're just a human out there, and you're human, and I'm going to express it. Whereas maybe when you're doing the film and things, you're more behind the scenes and the more of the magician
Yes.
making it
Absolutely.
happen. And you can still be a magician this way, but you are a really big personality. That's why I chose this card for you. I mean, I needed someone to talk about it. I was like, oh, I know who can do it.
I think that's a very interesting perspective, because I do think that one of the things I love about filmmaking, for example, is that it embraces all mediums. It's choreography, it's photography, it's acting. For me, it's also building, because the last film I did, I built an entire set in my living room of a
Mhm.
cafe. And the cafe, I painted the walls, I did wallpaper, I built the sets, I built the tables, I built it all out, because I love to build stuff with my hands. I also do ceramics, as you know.
Yes.
So there's a big part of me that is very much, I made this mug that I'm drinking coffee out of. You
Let
know
me
what?
see that.
Whoops, where's
Yeah,
the
the
plate
inside is
here?
different.
Yes, it's
Oh, gorgeous.
crawled. You dust the inside of it, and then you glaze it, and so the glaze doesn't stick
That's
everywhere. It only sticks in
beautiful.
certain places.
So,
Um,
can I ask you about that too? Because that
Ceramics?
is like real alchemy. Like that's hand alchemy. Like
Yeah,
truly turning one thing into another in front of you through a
yeah,
process of
yeah.
stages. So, how long have you been doing that?
Since high school.
Okay.
So, well, I don't. It gives away my age. But so I'm
It's okay. I
40
think you're
years.
younger than me.
35 years ago, I guess I started. Took my first class. I don't think so. Here,
No, we're not
anyway.
going in that.
Ceramics is a grounding. We talk about ceramics when you first have a lump of clay and you put it on the wheel. It's called centering. And for me, every time I throw a pot and I'm centering it, it's a real meditation moment, because you're breathing, you're pushing down on the clay, you're putting your breath into it, and you're centering. And it's a great word to think about life, and to be like, I'm centering my life, and you're touching clay, which comes from the earth. And so there's a real moment of satisfaction when you get that clay centered and you're ready to begin throwing your pot. And in that moment, you're breathing, you're connecting with it, and then it goes into building. And I've always been, since a kid, a very tactile person, somebody who wants to build stuff. We were just
Mhm.
talking about, I want to, I built some furniture. I've built a lot of things, but clay, for some reason, has always kind of been that default centering art process that brings me back to being me, I guess.
Yeah. So it's almost
And
a bit of a spiritual practice.
absolutely, 100%. I don't think I thought about it that way early on, but when I got away, so life happens, and I'm not in a studio. For a while, I had my own kiln, I had my own, wheel, and I was throwing stuff out of my garage, and but I missed the community. Going back to community,
Yes.
I missed the
Yeah.
community of the people, and also, it's a dirty, it's dusty, and it's nice to go to a studio. But for the time that I was out of the studio, I realized, it's like I haven't meditated in a long time, or I haven't, connected. I feel far away from
Mhm.
it. So if I'm away too long, I have to go back and kind of like
Yeah.
find that
Yeah.
again.
I love that it's called centering.
Yeah,
I never knew that. That is so profound to me.
it is. It really is. It's a very, well, it says it all there. It's,
It's connecting with the process, connecting with the clay, the medium.
mhm.
I mean, and then imagining, I suppose, I think I want to turn it into a dish, a bowl.
Yeah,
So I'm going to go this way and I have some ideas, but it's going to go a lot of different ways outside of what you're thinking, I'm sure. Like it's going to
yeah,
look different than you think. So this sort of co-creative process with the whole,
right.
with the medium is so interesting. And then also, I know in like probably any Judeo-Christian metaphors about
Or
creation
clay,
and the man
right,
coming from the dirt, back
right.
earth to earth.
Yeah,
You start as the clay and then it
yeah,
gets formed. But even in that there's a centering first, that there's an intention that this person's going to be this way, more or less. But it's not going to be that if I don't get it centered. Just
yeah.
starting with that centering and then letting it go out must be amazing to watch it.
There's a part of me when I go to the redwoods, for example, I hug trees, or I, even take my shoes off and go walk on the sand or the grass or something. There's a connection to the earth. I do think that clay serves that purpose as well,
Yeah.
working
Yeah.
in clay. And on top of it, when you do make a coffee mug and you present that as a gift to somebody, you say, "Hey, happy birthday, here's a gift." Oftentimes people react, they're like, "Oh my God, you made this? You made this?"
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Like I
but
got tons more that
I
came
know,
from.
believe me, please have more birthdays so I can give you
Yeah.
more mugs. But there is something really great about drinking coffee out of a handmade mug. That's not some production mug that was
Well, you're
made.
right. That connection to like an experience of creation.
Yeah.
I am probably drawing more lines into this than necessary, but here's my card. But do you see that wheel there? There's
Yes.
that
Oh,
wheel.
yes. Yeah.
The movement's going to happen anyway,
Yeah.
but it feels like it has this intention of being involved in it. Like, okay, let's go together. Let's bring it into something else.
That's
And
right.
there's a kind of commitment to that, like
Yeah.
expansion is kind of neat because it's a whole experience.
Wheel throwing is only one part of it. There's a whole other side that is all hand building, and people
Yeah,
make
there's,
pots from not from the wheel at all. And it's
or yeah, like if you're making
but
sculptures and things.
yeah, but even in those processes, it's a turning. There's often a
Mhm.
turning involved in making it, and the
Oh,
process of
yeah.
turning and growing the pot, whether it's coil building. And so this circular thing
Mm,
that's, again, you can draw metaphor upon
mhm.
metaphor. And I think that's why I do like ceramics, is that it's not just an art form, and there's a philosophy behind it too. You
Yeah,
go
and
to
energy.
Chinese history of making pots, there's a lot of great, wonderful philosophy that comes out of it. Kind
Oh,
of connected to Tai Chi.
yeah.
I do Tai Chi as well. So there's this,
The
evolution
circular
and
going around and the back.
yes,
And
yes, yes. Yeah.
I've been thinking about getting into Tai Chi again.
It's wonderful.
We had to do it in college. At Cal Arts, there was a Tai Chi class, and I didn't really get into it at the time, but I find that sometimes I'll stop and do it, and I'm amazed how much of it I remember. And that was a long
Mm,
time ago.
yeah.
It's like
It's
stays
in,
inside you.
it's like riding a bicycle, right? You get right back
Yeah,
on.
and you don't have to go anywhere. You just stay
That's
in your
right.
little patch. So,
Yeah. The philosophy of Tai Chi too is, so I mentioned the bird earlier. I'll tell
mhm.
the story really quickly about the bird because it's connected to Tai Chi. actually. The first Tai Chi class I took, I went to UC Davis for my MFA, and we were supposed to take a movement class. And I didn't know what a movement class was. It's the first time I had that kind of introduction into my life and my acting. And it turns out movement was Tai Chi. That was the class. And so we learned to do Tai Chi in class. And at first I kind of poo-pooed it. I was making fun of it. But as it grew, as I learned what Tai Chi was, I really,
Mm-hmm.
I really absorbed it. I loved it, loved every bit of it. And I was practicing every day. And then I got a phone call from my sister that said dad had surgery. And I had spoken to my dad the day before. We were talking on the phone. He told me that he was going to have a stent put into his leg to allow the blood flow to go through. My dad was the kind of guy that talked like, taking a carburetor out of the car. It's like, yeah, they're going to do this. They're going to change the oil. That's kind of how he described the surgery. And at the end of the conversation, he usually hangs up pretty quickly, but he didn't. He kind of stayed on the line a little bit longer. And I remember the silence of that end of that phone call, which was kind of odd, but I hung up the phone and went about my day and didn't think about it until the next day when my sister said that the surgery didn't go well. She was calling all of us, my siblings, my sister, other sisters, to go back to Huntington Beach, where my dad was in the hospital at Huntington Hospital. And when we arrived, it wasn't that much longer that he had had a cardiac arrest in post-surgery and was kind of in a coma-like state. But we still had a lot of hope that maybe he was going to pull through.
Of course you would.
And that night I sat by his bedside. This is where this is all going, is that I sat by his bedside, I held his hand, and I practiced Tai Chi. Not the outward form, but there's an internal Tai Chi that you can do. Like when you're driving in traffic and you're getting frustrated, there's an internal wheel, going back to the wheel. There's an internal wheel. Your chi is moving. And so I sat by his bedside. I didn't sleep at all that night. And I held his hand and I was trying to, just bring that energy into him, into us, into the thing. And I tell you, I hesitate to even say this, but because I'm more pragmatic than this, but I'm telling you, I had an outer body experience. It was something I felt that I was taken someplace else. And I was standing on a beach with my father. I could see him clearly. The sun was shining off his face, and we were both doing Tai Chi together. And it truly felt like another experience. And he looked at me and he said, "Look to the sun and I'll explain everything to you." And I said, "I don't want to stop doing what I'm doing. What if it's helping? What if I'm helping you?" And he says, "Trust me." And I looked to the sun, and I could see out of the corner of my eye that he turns into a magnificent bird and he flies to the sun and into the sun. And at that moment, I knew that he had already died. And
an incredible moment.
Is an incredible moment. And I came back, and I was back. Now I'm back into the hospital, and I remember, like, I haven't slept. Like, all of this is. I didn't trust that what I had experienced was what I experienced. I felt like I was just, in and out of a waking dream-like state. And then in the morning, my sister arrives with my mom, and my mom sits next to my dad and holds my sister, and I go downstairs into the cafeteria, and I don't tell her what happened. I'm just sort of like figuring it out for myself. And I said, "How did it go last night with mom?" And she said she slept pretty good. And she woke up this morning and said she had two dreams. One dream was that she was ice skating with dad at Rockefeller Center in New York, the way they used to when they lived there. And she said the other dream was that he was standing in the corner of the room doing Tai Chi. And I was like, wait, what? And then I quickly told her the story. She was just like, something happened. Something happened. Dad was maybe visiting everybody.
I 100% believe you. And that's the story, isn't it? Like, you're telling a story.
Yeah.
And I can feel into myself how that affects me according to, burn and dying. I know the trueness of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Mine was a feeling of almost like pushing a boat out into the water. And maybe that's the beach we go to or something in those visions. But I love that circular part of it too, because life goes in circles and death is the final end of that, this mortal coil.
Mortal
And then
coil. Yeah,
literally
you're
called
right.
a coil, right?
We can start to find many, many
Back
metaphors
to
about that.
Hamlet. I don't even know what to say. Except that
Yeah,
that's a beautiful story, and I love how um, even the theatrical part of it, I think, helps us because it gives us more language and art too.
yeah,
Language to
yeah,
I don't know what I saw, but I can explain this beautiful bird, and
yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
and I don't think I trusted. I didn't know. I remember telling this story as I was still trying to figure out. We're still in the hospital. I mentioned it to the minister. My parents were part of a Methodist church, and the minister, his name was Mike, and I said to him, I told this story, and without a doubt, he just says, "Oh, you had a vision. You had a vision," and I never would have used those words. And then when he said it, and with like such
He
confidence
would
and
know.
unapologetic, right? And he was in terms of ministers, I would say less Christian Methodist minister and maybe more universal life church minister. He was a big tree hugger. He believed that, the power of God was found in trees and the environment. And he often preached about our the importance that we
Mm.
serve, our connection, our integration with the planet. I didn't go to church that often, but when I did, I liked his services. So I know there was something else in the way that he was delivering it to me, like sort of unapologetically saying, "Oh no,
Hmm.
no, that's what it was."
We had a really good chaplain at the end too. So yeah, I felt very encouraged to be allowed to experience these things through maybe more of the metaphysical. Well, it's all metaphysical when it comes to that kind of stuff, but in terms of how I could explain what I was seeing. And yeah, we're talking about death again. We did at the beginning of this, but again, you bringing it into this place of mystery and connection, which is so beautiful. It takes away some of the fear,
Yeah, yeah, it does.
and I would hope that, whatever happened to Rene Nicole Good is that in those moments she was experiencing something amazing, because we don't know.
That one of those last images we see of her when she was saying she's smiling.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with you.
Mhm.
It reminds me too that death is for the living. Like what happens is up to us.
Yeah.
Those of us who can learn from what has happened, whether that be my dad passing away, most personal, a husband passing away, what we do with that.
Right. We're the ones
We
that
get the
have
choice,
continued
right?
experience. The person that died is gone.
I hope with Renee, we are able to turn, even as her wife said, she was about goodness, she was about joy. And if
And
we can learn from that,
the word Renee means born again, like rebirth.
oh, really?
Hmm.
Mm,
So, like Renee, I guess. I don't know enough French, but there's that. Well, one more
wow.
thing. We didn't talk about this before, but I did ask you to bring in a piece of artwork that had
Oh, yeah.
meant
Yes.
something to you. And I meant to ask you before we started, but I forgot. So now you can just tell me.
Okay. So I decided to bring, I'll show you, but I decided to bring a book. And the book is called Creating a Life Worth Living by Carol Lloyd. Yes. And it is a sister cousin to The Artist Way, I would say, perhaps. But to me, it read from the very beginning. She's talking to us in a way that says, we've chosen this career as artists. And here are some ways which can help you get to your next project and or help you find a way to make a living being an artist. And she differentiates between people who just want to do this creatively as a hobby on the side or those who want to try and make money at it. But she doesn't focus on the you have to make money, like learning how to make money doing the art. She focuses more on the process of art. And for me, this book came to me at a particular time in my life when I just needed some support in helping me find the next thing in life or the next way to pursue art in life. And I came back to this book because there was a quote that she had that reminds me of your show. And that is, she says, creating is a lot like alchemy.
Yeah.
It's equal parts fact, fiction, pragmatism, and mysticism. And the pragmatism early on in this dialogue, you were talking about when you paint, there's a practical thing that you're doing. You're painting, you know what your medium is, and that's the pragmatic, and that's almost the fact side. These are the facts, or the practical side. And then there's imagination, and that's the mysticism side that comes in, the imagination to create the art. And to me, that's the perfect alchemy to creating art. And I don't even know if it's like a choice. That's just what it is. Art is the alchemy of fact and fiction, pragmatism, and mysticism. And I just really loved that
I love
coming.
that she put fiction in there.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It's a little of both. Everything in moderation. And
So when we talk like that, it makes me feel like being a creative, like we can call ourselves creative. I definitely love the idea of the creative process, but I
yeah.
don't know if we're actually creating anything. I feel like we're more like we're co-creating. There's
Oh,
a
yes.
collaborative thing happening, which is our role in it is to be the person who, actually makes the thing happen because you sat
Hmm.
down with your
Right, right,
tools.
right,
But it's almost a kind of direction of its own, but not really a direction because you're also being the actor because you're doing
right.
it. But it's not, I think when we go around like, I created that is so interesting to me because it's sort of like, did you? It seems like you all work together. We created this, the paper, the pens, the spirit, the me, we created it,
You
which is
said the
much more
spirit,
like
and I
theater,
think
right?
yes. And you said the spirit, I think, is a really great, another great book I read last year was The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. And he delves into the idea. So does, I read, is it Big Magic? I think it's called.
Oh yeah, Elizabeth Gilbert.
Yeah, she
Mhm.
also, like as artists, we're going through, and I've often found that if I seek it out, it's not as abundant as if I capture it from the
That's right.
universe. It's sort of like Tom Waits describes writing a song as like you're just waiting for a rabbit to jump out of the hole and you got to catch the rabbit
Yeah.
once it's out of the
Yeah.
hole. Or I think Neil Young said, writing a song is like fishing. You put the bait into the water and you're just waiting for a bite. Once you get a bite, you got to maybe reel it in and you might miss it. It might swim off and go
Yeah.
someplace else. Elizabeth Gilbert, I think, talks about, ideas come into your life, and if you don't, it's like it's there for you. The universe is giving it. The spirit is giving you this idea. And if you don't take it, it'll swim off and find
Yeah.
somebody else.
I
Uh,
deeply believe that. It's kind of like you don't have your studio anymore, but you have a theater that you can go into. Like
yeah.
going into the space that you go, you're more likely to be caught. Spirit will
Yes.
know, the
Yes.
spirit of
Yes.
imagination knows where to find you because that guy's already working.
Right. That's the pragmatic part. You
Yeah.
have to build the environment in which you're going to catch the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But the magic which happens within is not entirely practical. It's not, you can't rely completely on, well, if I just sit down and put pen to paper and start
Yeah.
writing, something will
Because you
come.
might be in a bad mood that day.
Yeah.
And that good
Yeah.
idea isn't going anywhere because you're like frustrated on
Right.
something. And then,
Yeah.
so you can miss it even if you're available for it.
Yeah.
But the point I think is this kind of funny thing that comes to mind, and you won't relate to this because you don't have children that are in kindergarten, but imagine. So when Justine was in kindergarten, I met another mom who had a kid in the class and they were friends and everything. But she worked. She had another kid to pick up from school. She had so many things going on, and she was the only mom that I could rely on to help me, even though she was so
Uh,
busy to pick up my kids. And then someone said, "Yeah, if you want something done, ask a busy mom."
that's right.
Because it's like that person they
Yes.
show up every day. That idea is willing to come to you because they know that your supplies will be nearby.
Right.
And,
Right.
so you might not get all of the ideas, but I think they're more willing to pop into the head if someone's going to be responsible with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that makes sense, if it
It
thinks
does
that
make
way.
sense. It reminds me of another quote. I'm not going to remember who, but the quote was, if you create the process creates the work. And I love what you're talking about being like creating the environment, creating the place. You create the process, and the process will just naturally
Mhm.
create the work. And
Mhm.
that's leaving it up to you've created the environment, you've created the circumstances, and the other things will come in, even if that
Yeah.
circumstance is getting another busy mom to
Yeah.
you
Having
know,
another idea to half finish.
right, 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 right.
Yeah. But also, it gets us back into that place of I am the co-creator in this,
Yeah,
I
the
am one of
co-create.
the co-creators in this experience. And it's coming from something inside of me too. I'm bringing my version of this in. And then you don't have to be necessarily the person that stands up for the work. You don't have to be the
Yeah,
one that's out there defending it. All you have to do is go back and be available again. too often I fall into like, I want to be the artist, then I want to make sure the right people see it. And it's like, I
Right.
try to control these other elements that actually block the work from getting out, even if I've already made it. All I have to be is the artist and a
Right.
human and a connector with my intention that I want to expand in the world. Go back to that again and again. Then I think it can free us up from all of the stuff around it.
So something you said is interesting. Do you feel when you create work that you do have to explain it to other people?
I do, and I don't like doing it. Well, I do because I overthink probably, but I know that when certain people ask me and they don't have the language, I get real flubby around it. Like I don't know how to,
Hmm.
this is what I was thinking, but
Right.
I rather just hear what they think about it.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And it's cool too. I'm happy to explain, but a lot of times I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I like,
I don't know why I did it.
yeah. I like explaining how I did it, but I don't want to
Yes,
explain
how is
why I
much
did it.
easier.
Yeah. And trying to tell them what, because then you feel like you know, if they have an opinion that you've never thought of, then you go, oh, wow, that's cool. I never would have seen it that way. Tell them
Also,
what
you've
it's,
already put the words out there. Like if it's a
yeah,
play,
right.
you've already put the words
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah. Jim Jarmusch is really great. I like him as a filmmaker and his discussions afterwards. You say, "What's that about?" And he won't tell you. He's like, "I don't know. I did what
Yeah, I don't
my
know that that's
translations in
your
the word."
job.
Yeah, that's right.
I gotta
And
go back and work. I gotta go back and be available for the thing I
right,
don't understand.
David Lynch was the same way too. He would not ever explain his work.
Oh, may you rest in peace.
Yeah, yeah, great influence. He was really
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I think that's. Do you I know you paint and you sketch and you draw. Or do you work? What other mediums? Do you do photography as well?
I did photography professionally for a time. I think I'm good at it,
Yeah,
but I also get real caught up in all the technical stuff.
yeah, yeah,
And my perfectionism is definitely a part of who I am, but that is also a damaged part of me that also came from the world. So I'm really, when I find myself sitting and analyzing something when I'm spending all my time doing that, then I have to be careful because I think I'm really able to be creative when I'm doing that too long. I love the output, but the time spent in front of a screen trying to fix it the way I wanted to got like, even like you said, when you came on, you were like, I can tell you edit some of these. I'm like, yeah, I do. I can't not try to perfect things.
and it seems to me like the podcast is a whole other art form in and of itself.
Yeah, I'm learning a
Editing
lot.
is part of you're putting your part into your stamp. You're kind of tweaking it and editing it. The same with filmmaking,
Yeah.
same with writing a song, you're tweaking it, you're making it, you're changing it.
You're
Do
making
you
it the way
find,
you feel, that you feel comfortable putting into the world. You want to have a
yeah,
certain kind of quality. But I love the podcast because I mean, I have no idea who is listening,
right, right,
like unless they tell me. And that's life. I never know what anybody thinks unless they tell me anyway. But it's the amplification. I get to share things. I get to learn about things from you that I think are interesting.
yeah,
I invited you to talk about something in particular. So I am getting what I want out of it, right? I
yeah,
didn't call you to talk about economics or something, but also I really do believe that when two people talk, it's another co-creative practice. And
yeah,
now there's a third thing, and that's
right,
this conversation.
right.
So it's almost like the reverse of grabbing the thing. We're like putting the thing out to be grabbed. It's
Hmm.
going through us, and now it's a new form. Well, it is being recorded,
Yeah,
and you can go back and listen to it. I can go back and listen to it, get different things out of it or not. But it's no longer about us.
right.
There's that third.
I love the formality of it too. You and I could get together on Zoom and have this conversation, but the the podcast creates a formality
Yeah,
about what we're
yeah, it
talking
creates
about. I
a
think,
intention.
whether it's in the forefront or the back of our minds, we are recognizing that we are
Yeah, yeah,
momentum. It's keeping momentum going.
right. And staying
And
somewhat on track.
somewhat, I know we bounced all over the place, and I
Well,
still
it's
have
the
more
wheel.
questions.
It's the big wheel. Have to move
It,
right through it.
and one thing leads to another. I have more questions. You just said something earlier, and I thought, oh, that's the next question I want to ask, which is, do you find that all these art forms influence each other?
Art forms in my life or
Yeah,
art forms in,
yeah,
oh yeah, I think so.
yeah,
I mean, it's like you were saying before, it's you in the middle of it.
Yeah. The wheel thing reminds me too.
Mhm.
It's like
Like
spokes
an
of the wheel are all
extension.
connected to the same wheel, you
That's
know?
right. That's right. So if you're in the middle of the wheel and this thing is moving around like a big, I'm thinking big lazy Susan. You're in the middle of
Perfect.
the lazy Susan. You have access to all those things, and some might need to have a little more attention over here, and then that one.
Right.
So I think for people that are very multi-passionate like we are, maybe multi-talented even, we have a lot of variety, need a lot of variety. It's okay to think of yourself in the middle of all that. It's not rolling away from you. You're centered. You're
Yeah.
centered in the wheel. Yeah. So many ways we could jump into that one, but I knew it would be like
Yeah.
that talking to you.
Well, right. I'm already editing in my head. My voice is going, oh, I could not, I didn't have to talk about that. We didn't have to make
No, it's all
you.
good. But I I did have somebody. It was in Sedona a couple of years ago, and it was in a like this vegetarian bakery that's known for, mystical folk going in. And there was a woman sitting at the table and she had some tarot cards and was kind of like, pay what you want kind of thing. And I had a
Mm.
little bit of time and I was like, yeah, I'd love you to read my cards. And it was the best reading because what came out of it, she goes, you are a spiritual teacher, but no one's going to know what you're talking about. She didn't say it just like that. She goes, say it anyway,
Uh,
even if people don't seem like they know what you're talking about, because what you're saying might trigger something else over here for them later or whatever. You're not here to be understood. Stop
Interesting.
trying to be understood by people. If you want to share something, share it. And I think that's what these conversation parts are. You might think, oh, that didn't make sense. Why did I talk about that? But that could have been the thing that triggered off this other part that brought a
Right.
huge meaning to somebody. So to allow a conversation to be a co-creative thing, you have to give it the edges, a
Yeah.
container, but what's inside is fluid.
That's so, it is a really brilliant thing to say. That's really wise because you do remind me that there have been times that I have chosen to do something because I didn't understand the language. So, for example, I remember auditing somebody's acting class, and I was like, I don't really get this teacher, but I knew what he was saying was wise, but I didn't get it. And that was the reason I wanted to take his class at the end of the day because I didn't speak the same language. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was interested. So now I've become aware since then, and you just said the thing is when you don't understand somebody, it's better to lean in and learn that language. It's better for yourself. Like, figure out what they're saying. So if you are speaking about something that I don't get, yeah, it
It
makes you
created
think.
some interest in you, though. It wasn't like something that you totally like disagreed with. It was something that you're kind of like, I don't understand that. I'm interested in why I don't understand that, it sounds
That's
like.
right. That's right. And I think that's it. For those people out there in the world who will turn it off, I don't get that, and they'll turn it off.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people, I hope I'm one of them, that turns it on or wants to listen because they're curious. They live in a place of wonder and curiosity. Oh, somebody is speaking a language that I don't speak. And so I want to learn that language to be a more well-rounded, self-actualized person, to have another language under their belt, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and the more things you can use, the more
Yeah.
experiences you can use, the more stories that you've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
help you with that. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to
Thank
wrap this
you.
up.
I do love this. It's very inspiring.
You can come on anytime. Maybe give it a little break, You.
See you next week.
Yeah. Now we're going to talk about Shakespeare's Globe now that I've seen that movie. But
I
do
know.
check in with me after you've seen it. I would love to hear at
I
least
will.
a text on that.
I will. It's one of the films that's at the top of the list right now. Yeah, I will.
Okay. All
Well,
right.
all right.
Have a great day, David. We'll
You
talk
too.
again soon. Okay.
Bye
Bye.
bye.